so the reports are at sequentpartners.com and also at CIMM-us.org. You can get, there's several reports actually. It's been a kind of a journey to learn more about this. So I just want to start with one area to make sure that the audience understands this, because I think this is a kind of a complex area, is, and maybe Turner could start with this. I'm sorry, I keep calling you Turner and not WarnerMedia. The question of sort of how you do the matching of the TV viewing data to all the other kinds of data, be it location, be it search, be it purchase data. You kind of said you were using this NCS single source panel, but it's not really a typical single source panel. So maybe just describe that a little bit more.
I guess I'll start with, this was one example. And what I was referring to was just the fact that we have, I guess it's a pseudo single source because it is created by matching together the NPM data as well as a collection of set-top boxes and then the NCS data all matched at the household level. But really what the really important point that I wanted to make was the fact that this allows us to cut up the results in ways that we typically cannot do when we're working with a lot of other types of data.
Yeah, and with regard to matching, we work with basically two types of data sets. The first data set is the viewership data, and that would be the Nielsen panel, it could be ComScore's panel, or their broad set of data that they're pulling in from set-top boxes. But now, as we're part of AT&T, we actually have viewership data that we bring in from DirecTV, and so that's a new viewership data set that we can work with. Then the other side is the behavioral data, the transactional data. It could be geolocation, it could be first-party data that comes from a client. And what happens is in most of those cases, we bring that data through a safe haven like a LiveRamp or a Newstar, and then that data gets matched to the viewership data, and then we bring that into our systems, and then we use that historical data and how those specific audiences that were ingested effectively and matched to the viewership data, how do they watch TV over the past year? And then we have forecasting models that we've built to basically determine when those specific segments of the population are going to watch our programming and other programming in television to give us a sense of when they're going to be on air and when we should actually be sending them messages.
Yeah, and this, Alice, I don't know if you want to add anything to it, but this may be one of the challenges in other countries as the issues with privacy and safe havens and how you're allowed to do these kinds of ID matches evolve.
And I think we're going to have to be ready for the day when that goes away in the U.S. too. We're going to have to come up with the next level solution, whether it's going to be at the ZIP or the ZIP +4 or household segments. There will be a day when we'll be in a completely opt-in world, and we'll just have to start figuring that out. This could be the tiny little heyday of person's level, household level data.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the nice things about television in general is it is not one-to-one. It is one-to-many still in the linear world. One of our new advantages being owned by AT&T is we do have a first-party consumer relationship with a lot of varying data sets, meaning we have about 170 million homes or people rather, that have devices where they've opted in and are paying for a service, whether that's a television service or a phone service or a broadband service. And so that gives us a lot of opportunity to basically get opt-in, do things the right way, at least within those data sets that are created. But I agree that we have to be very mindful of respecting privacy and doing things the right way.
So I want to say one tiny little thing about the complexity of this data. I heard the story that Vizio television sets had an end aisle display at Costco, big, huge retailer in the United States, for years and years and years, end aisle. So, and what happened to that is once they lost it, their entire demographic profile of their audience changed because it's just the way the television set itself is distributed. It makes a huge difference in what kind of data comes out of it and who's comprised of that panel, even though it's millions and millions and millions of people.
Yeah, and we don't want to make what we used to call the digital error of just large size does not mean representativeness. But anyway, we've got a couple of questions here, and I don't have much time. I sort of addressed one of them about outside the U.S. There's not a lot of this going on. But why don't we just end up on one of them here, which is, to what extent have we solved the challenge of matching households to individuals? And how do we deal with kind of multi-touch at the person level? So why don't you just try to attach that?
We haven't solved that problem. No, I don't think so. I would say that we apply factors in most cases. We look at the panel data and we use the factors that we get from Nielsen or ComScore and apply those in many cases to the varying places where we're measuring television viewing.
Some marketers are happy at the household level because they see their purchases as a household level purchase. But anyone want to add anything else to that before we have to wrap?
Well, to your point, I think if we can show that sales are increasing, we're done our job.
No, and if we build brands and make people love our brands and love our advertising, all of that as well. Sales is important, right?
So we can continue this discussion about brands versus short-term impact as we go to the coffee break. And I do have a few copies of the paper copies of this for the lucky people who want to come up and grab a few of them.
You know what else is in there? This awesome glossary of terms. I really like that. On both of these documents, we have definitions because the world really doesn't know.
Thanks. Enjoy your coffee.
Thanks, and if you can be back here at 5 minutes past 12, please.